You're listening to Recovery Survey, the podcast that shatters stigmas around different types of addictions and takes a deep dive into spiritual principles.
Like, my story is that my parents, they're big, gamblers, and my dad's a recovering alcoholic as well. He has about 25 years, and I have an older brother that has an addiction problem, alcoholic, and I grew up in this lifestyle my whole life, so I never really knew what was right and wrong, and I didn't want to accept anything.
My guest today is named Leanne Villani. She is the host of the podcast Beyoufullmind. Welcome to the show.
What's up? How's it going? This is Leanne Villani. I'm a positive Mindshift life coach, and I help people unlock their doors in human amount of success. I'm also a podcaster on all your favorite music platforms, and it is available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and I'm here to just speak my story of strength and hope of becoming the best person I could possibly be through the 12-step program.
Awesome. I'm excited to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate your time, Brett.
Let's dive into a little bit of the backstory. Let's get into your addiction, what that looked like, and then how you got to recovery and go from there.
Yeah, let's do it. This is awesome. So actually I just spoke yesterday too at a meeting. So this is great. I feel like I'm in service, of the 12 steps. So I started drinking when I was, in ninth grade, man. And I was drinking a Four Loko fruit punch at my first party, and I'm very small. I'm like 110 pounds. So think about me when I was 15, 16 years old. I drank that and it felt amazing. Like, I literally had probably 3 sips of it and I was like, I'm drunk, and I loved the euphoria. And then, as I went through this thing called life, I hated being myself. I'm gay, right? I'm gay. So trying to even morph my identity in the mix of that, confused, trying to fit in with people. I was a college softball player too as well, and I played every single sport. So in the mix of that, being 16, 15 years old, I was still playing sports, drinking. I just got my first dose of alcohol and I loved it. And ever since then, that's what I chased for. Do you want me to dive really deep, like my whole story, or just give you a little intro right here?
However you want to do it. Go for it.
Gets bad, It gets very bad. So yeah, let's do it. So, I really loved the feeling, and when I was 16 years old, we had those Sweet 16 days, and I would drink Bacardi Dragonberry and a personal bottle to myself, and I would drink the whole thing. That was the goal, I had one mission, was to get as drunk as possible and not to be myself, and I also started to collect the bottles in my closet, and I was counting them. Like, that was a prideful thing. Like, I had to have a lot of them in my closet because I thought that was cool, and that's what I chased for. And in that moment, I didn't know I had any problems. I just knew that I loved to drink with my friends. I thought it was normal. Then I would take it, things got a little bit, not so bad, but I was playing college softball. I went to Fredonia, upstate New York, and I had to get drug tested, so I started to get involved in weed. Now I'm talking about this now, and it makes more sense because, as you speak your story, you learn more things about yourself. We used to roll up blunts after we were playing games, playing college softball, and that's what I looked for because I couldn't really drink. I always had practice and shit, and I couldn't really drink. It was always something, so we smoked, and it was a D3 school. And I loved it. I would smoke about 5 blunts to the face with my friends. That was what I liked. And that's when weed really came a part of my story. Then I was like, I'm getting out of here. I'm getting out of Fredonia. I'm going to go to Oneonta, SUNY Oneonta, Oneonta, biggest party school. Went there, transferred, and my life changed. I loved the college. It was the biggest party school. But I was also a transfer. A lot of people from Long Island went there. But, I had to find out new people. Like, I had to fit in now. And at this point, too, I was smoking a lot of pot. I was dealing pot. I was bringing bongs. I was setting myself up for success in my journey of school. As long as I'm making money, getting good grades, everything's good. So I was the dealer, the newbie. And, ever since then, I had a friend that was from home, went to Oneonta, so I linked up with her. And that was it. Like, I started to become a part of them. They were drinking every day. So was I. I loved it. That's what I chased that because I needed it for my ego. I couldn't be myself. I hated being myself in my skin because it was uncomfortable, and I always wanted to get out of my skin. I just want to take a pause for this because my story is that my parents, they're big, gamblers, and my dad's a recovering alcoholic as well. He has about 25 years, and I have an older brother that has an addiction problem, alcoholic, and I grew up in this lifestyle my whole life, so I never really knew what was right and wrong, and I didn't want to accept anything. So as I was going through school and college, I was alone. Mommy and daddy weren't there, and I started to feel like myself when I took that first sip of a drink, and I kept doing it. And my goal was to get blacked out. I couldn't just have one. That wasn't the goal, man. It was really to get fucked up, and I loved it because I wasn't me, and I was able to talk to people. I was able to conversate. I was able to be liked. I had this ego-driven self. I was getting involved, who's next, which girl, and what person could I make at the next sale. And it started to progress. And I didn't go to orientation that first time when I was up there at Oneonta because I wanted to smoke pot that day. And, looking back to it, that was messed up. So my life was always unmanageable at that point. But then, things just started to progress. People started to know me, love me, and I started to do really bad things. I started to hurt people around me. I started to lose a lot of friends, started to get in fights. I didn't have control over it because it was part of the environment I was in to succeed. I was getting straight A's. I was the president of my college. I went to school to be a teacher. So I had it all right on paper, but this was normal. Then as I went to, I was a senior. I last shot, gotta go big. Things just started to become bad. I was drinking every day, not before class though. Right when I got out of class, I would work my ass off in the library, get my grades, and my reward was always a drink. And that was it. So that was a habit. It was a habit from really sophomore year of college to senior year. So then when I came home from college, which was in 2019, May, my life really, it was just crazy. I had to be underneath my parents' roof, and I didn't want to stop partying. I was going to local bars. I was becoming a townie. I was getting involved with people that I shouldn't be around. My safety was definitely, it was jeopardized. And I needed to go to the bar, I realized, for validation, because I didn't have that when I was a kid, nor do I have it today. As I was building a successful, business and podcasting, and I was speaking to people now, I started this podcast in my college dorm, and it blew up, and now I have about 19,000 listeners, almost 20, and I'm speaking about being the best version you could possibly be. And I wasn't walking the talk as much because I had these demons inside. It started to become bad because when I was home, I didn't want to ever be myself. I was hurting my family. I was lying. I was jumping out of my window. I was doing things that were not okay. I would sleep in my car just because I didn't want to go home. I was having people go into my car to go to AA meetings. And my dad gave me my first book when I was 21 years old because they obviously saw a problem. Gave me my first book when I was 21. And I went to a meeting, and it was dark, dreary basement because of my brother. And it wasn't for me, but I went because my dad already gave me the book. He's obviously hinting something. And I was 21. And again, I didn't want to accept anything because I wanted to keep drinking, and I was too young to stop. And it kept going. In the last 8 months leading up to today, as I'm 4 months sober, almost 5, really what changed, I had a bunch of psych changes, and I realized that I was running a business and working with people over Zoom, right? And I was making payments to them, and I didn't even remember. I had to pick up a drink to make conversations in business. I have all these motivations, right? All these dreams. And I thought that I needed a drink to still have those dreams. I had fear of success. I had fear of being me. Like, that was the number one thing. As I'm speaking to the world about be you, be full, have a beautiful mind. And I struggled with that. And that's really why I would drink, is because I hated being me. And that's like such a sad thing. I had no self-love, but I had a higher power always. And I remember, I went to Atlantic City in New Jersey, and I went to the Harris pool party, and this guy raped me. And I'm gay, so it wasn't, having a kid wasn't a thing for me. Like, I even thought. And this happened. This changed my world, and I neglected it. And I had to pay the consequences. And my dad said to me, if you were drinking, do you think this would happen? And I said no. And it scared the shit out of me because it was scary. I didn't even realize that, because of my drinking. And ever since then, I said to myself, I never want to be in a situation where my life is truly on the line. And I was powerless over this man. And I truly had to pay for the consequences. I would pray to Jesus and God, for it to be sober, and it was never happening. But I could tell you this is, I kept going back to AA. I kept going back. So my dad told me this one thing. He said, Leanne, when I was in the rooms, because he doesn't really go anymore, but he goes, when I was in the rooms, there was this guy, and he would go every single day for 25 years until it worked. And one day he was able to be sober. And that I never realized moved me in my sobriety and starting this journey to recovery, was because I would get drunk. I would still, right? So after that all that stuff happened, I still went out to the bar, and I just kept getting these psych changes because I kept showing up to AA, and it worked. And I always thought that the people around me in AA, when I would go in those basements, it was like you guys were lying to me. And that's not the truth, but I kept coming back. And they always say, keep coming back, keep coming back. And I did, even when I relapsed, because relapse is part of my story. And I love that it is, because I kept coming back till it clicked. And I did. And then all of a sudden, I started to work the program, and I've accepted that I was powerless, because my first sponsor said to me, read this first, I think it was page like 30. That one resonates with me. And she's like, read this and underline all the things you identify with and write me. I counted up like 52 things. And to this day, I admitted that I was powerless and I had a problem. And now I walk the journey of recovery, and almost 5 months sober. And my life has been nothing but blessings, peace, and love. And I love myself today because of the program. And it's just, I sometimes think that I can't believe I deserve this life, because it's so beautiful. And they say, like, working the program, it gives you a life to live. Because if I don't, it's life or death, and I will die, because my drinking was getting that bad because of my emotions and feelings. Because I used to drink to feel. So that's really my story. It's really, I thrive in chaos, and I hated myself, and I had to learn to love myself all over again. Well, truly, for the first time. And here I am today, sober. So that is my story thus far.
I love that message of keep coming back, because I have a similar story where I went into the rooms, would go back out, just like constantly relapsing for 2 years, probably. But there's something that happens going to enough meetings. It's like some of the information starts to get through, and then like as I'm hearing like the cliches in the rooms and like some of the things that I've heard in meetings, and it's like that kind of starts to get into your brain, and then it's like, man, this isn't as much fun as I remember it being, and it kind of screws everything up.
It's true. You get guilty and stuff when you go back out, which is a good thing, because that's really what they say. It works. Yeah, it's amazing. Like what I could say is that my last part of what really woke me up was that I went to the bar, because I think I relapsed like 3 times. I would literally go to the AA meetings, dude, and I would open up a White Claw and I would drink it, and I would stare at it and shit. I would, have the game with it, but I never picked up the phone. They say, don't pick up the first drink. That's it, game over, because it's never won, and that's a fact. But the last time I was fucking in the woods, dude. And I wasn't really into drugs, because I watched my brother do drugs my whole life, And the only thing I was in was weed. I did a little bit of coke here when I was, in college. But I was in the woods with this guy, and I was smoking like a joint with like coke on it. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I don't do this. It's like crack or some shit. I was like, what? And ever since then, I'm sober, because like that's not me, and that wasn't me. I remember too looking at myself in the mirror, dude, touching myself like in the chest at my heart, and I was like, I don't feel anything. I didn't even know who I was. It was that scary. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror for like 8 months. 8 months, and then ever since then, I went through 3 different sponsors, and ever since then, my sponsor today, we vibe, right? We vibe. You vibe with your sponsor?
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's what changed my life, is that, like, the sponsor, the good sponsors.
Yeah, it took me a couple tries as well to find somebody that I clicked with, and yeah, it took a couple tries.
It's so important, because the other 2 people, I didn't pick up the phone and call them. And now today, I want to call my sponsor. And if I don't, dude, I catch some twos, resentments. I catch, I don't know how to handle life, because then I'm not working the program in my daily life.
I'd love to hear some more about It's what, Beyoufullmind? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's called Beautiful Mind. Yeah, you want to know about it?
I would love to hear more about it.
Yeah, sweet. So I started this in college, right? I got this God consciousness. I'm very connected with my higher power. Mine is God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. And I don't know. I'm very intuitive. So I could feel people like auras, energies very quickly, like right away, even through a voice, phone call, a photograph. So I was in college, woke up, and the first thing that came to me was beautiful mind. Then I went out, did my thing, and I ignored it. Again, next day, woke up, same thing. Beautiful mind. Again, next day. And then I said it again and I wrote it down on a piece of paper after I let go a really bad, toxic human being in my life. And I wrote it down, picked up a microphone, and I started to speak with Xbox headphones. And my goal was this is, Beautiful Mind is an acronym that truly transformed my life. Because during my process of recovery, I kept talking and speaking because I had a purpose. People started to listen to me. So Beautiful Mind is the first step of self-love is to be you, right? Be you. You have to be yourself. Second step is to be full, because then you're full as a human being. Once you're you, you're full. You're able to be you and walk with you with conviction, confidence. Be you, and then have a beautiful mind, right? Beautiful mind. You're able to see this thing called life as a beautiful self. Everything looks beautiful because you're walking the true you. Read it backwards, mindful you be. That's where the peace and love and harmony groundness comes. So then I LLC'd it and I started a business, and now people around this world are getting inspired by my words of becoming the best version that they could possibly be. And I started to do life coaching, positive mind shift life coaching, because I actually transformed. I shifted my ideology, my thinking process. So I used the law of attraction in my coaching, and I've been helping a lot of people harness their greatness inside of them, whether that be anxiety, they don't have a sense of direction in their spiritual life, anything, a business idea that they don't know where to start. And I started it, and it's been written down for years, and now I'm moving into action. And I never realized how much I'm truly inspiring people, because I always have to be reminded, because you could get lost in the work.
I saw it in writing and I was reading it out loud and I was like, it's kind of like a play on words. It sounds like beautiful mind,
Yeah.
but it's full mind. And it's like, that's why I kind of stumbled over it when I first asked the question, because I was like, I want to make sure I say this right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, no, thank you. I really appreciate it. That's just a pure example of, listening to your gut and not allowing an idea to just slip away. Because one idea can change your life. And because of that idea, I'm able to expand now different things. I've been connecting with a lot of people because of it. And, you got to start somewhere. And I've learned that because of what I've created is because of God. And now I can tell you that I've experienced a lot of loss in my life, that now that I'm sober, there's so much blessings that are coming, and I'm actually walking and living a beautiful mind, mindful you be. And I'm truly inspiring all ages, dude. It's not just like people my age. I'm coaching women that are, 40 to 50 years old. I'm coaching people, men, women. I'm coaching all ages, and that's powerful because it's just, I can't believe I deserve this, and I have the ability to do it because I do. It's a God-given gift.
This might kind of be off base, and if you don't want to answer it, that's fine.
I'll answer it. Come on, honesty's key.
Have you found it difficult in recovery to be a lesbian and do that whole thing? Because one of my best friends, she's a lesbian, and I know in the beginning, like, she found it difficult with finding a sponsor, and she started off with a guy, and then they didn't really vibe, and then she went with a lady, and so I know it can be kind of tricky. So have you found any kind of difficulties with that? Or
that's funny.
Yeah, because I mean, I know, like, we're supposed to be inclusive, and it doesn't matter, like, age, race, sexual identity, creed, religion, but I know people still have biases, and people can be assholes. So
they
that's
are
kind of my question. Yeah, for sure.
Well, let me just tell you something. It's funny because my first sponsor was a dude too. And I was like, I only vibe with dudes because I grew up with all boys. So I was like, I need a dude. And then, I had a girl, and then I have a girl today. However, what I could say is this is, whatever energy I put out is what's going to come right back to me. So if I'm not being accepting of the people around me and just willing to ask, I don't find it difficult. When I make it difficult, it's because I'm allowing fear to get in my way of my recovery. However, I could tell you that I've been going to, with these Zoom meetings, man, we could all go on Zoom meetings at any time we want. Like if I need a meeting at 3:15 and it's 3:05, there's one out there. So I've been looking up LGBTQ plus groups, and I actually really like it. It's not difficult. It's not difficult at all unless I make it difficult. But there is so many groups online that have an all exclusive, just for gay people, lesbian people, the LGBTQ. And I would definitely suggest that if anybody's listening to this, that they should tap into that because it's a different share. People are sharing from, their husband to husband, wife to wife, or whatever they're going through. And I was able to relate a little bit better. So there's no biases unless, there is of other people, but you should know that you don't want that part of your, sobriety because it could really affect you. It could cause you to pick up.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's one of those things that we would refer to as an outside issue. The same thing, like, I don't go up to somebody in the room and ask, who did you vote for? Or what religion do you practice?
Yes.
It doesn't matter. I'm here for recovery. I don't care what you do when you leave the rooms. That doesn't matter.
Yes.
And if I have that closed mind of like, oh, we think differently, I might not hear the message that I need that could save my ass. Like, it's important for me to stay open-minded, and those other things don't matter.
Dude, I feel like that's just an ego thing. And that's a great point of what you said, because what was I going to say? Something just came to my mind. Oh, with the politics thing, like the goal is literally recovery. And also another thing is, I remember I hear a lot of older people say, even to this day, some people come to this, is like, say they talk about a drug in the room, part of their story, then, if it's part of your story, it's part of your story. They're there for alcohol. It doesn't matter, So I just feel like people got to put their ego and their thoughts and their beliefs aside and just look at this as a recovery, and we're helping another alcoholic, another, addict.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one of the things I love about my home group is we're all kinds of different people, different backgrounds, different races, different religions, all kinds of stuff, but we all come together for an hour a day and we talk about recovery. We're not worried about all that other outside stuff. And man, I've met people, I've talked about it on the podcast before, like one of the guys that I've gotten closest to, he's 65, I would have probably never met somebody that's 30 plus years older than me. And, we talk on the phone all the time. Like, we hang out outside of meetings. Like, that probably wouldn't have happened if, in normal life. But by going into it with an open mind and not trying to judge anybody, not trying to figure out who they are, just go in there and listen with an open mind. Like, it's amazing the different people we can meet and how big of a role they can play in our lives.
That's great, because I actually have a question for you. My biggest thing that I'm having a problem with, I'm making it a problem, is allowing people into my life and looking at people in AA as friends rather than just AA people. I'm very open, right, as a human being outside of AA, but obviously this is about me, my recovery. But I noticed that I relate to what you say because I vibe with older people and older women. However, do you have any advice or suggestions when it comes to, I have a home group. I have that. My girlfriend's in the program. She's 3 years. What, you got any advice or tips about making some friends and just doing it and just calling? Like, I don't know.
Man, for me, I think the biggest thing is just trying to get involved. Like, grab a cup of coffee, go to dinner after a meeting. Like, just do something outside of the rooms to kind of, I guess, break the ice. That's kind of been my experience. Like, for the longest time before the pandemic, we had a standing thing. Like, every Friday night after the meeting, a group of us would go to Waffle House and we'd sit up there for hours and drink coffee and just hang out. So yeah, my advice would just be to try to hang out with people outside of the meetings. And we, like my group, we have like a group chat, so we'll like send each other messages and stuff throughout the day. And
I used to have that. I know I used to have that with this other group of people, but I realized, like, I used to have like a really big group of young people, and it just wasn't. Their sobriety wasn't the sobriety I wanted. It wasn't personal because I like the older women. I think like what you're saying is, I just have to get those numbers and call the right people and get that group, even if it's older people, that we're all got the common problem. And I realized that I was able to decipher what I want and what I want my recovery to look like, what type of people, because I realized, like, with younger people, even though they had 3 years, 4 years, their recovery didn't look like their sobriety didn't look like the one that I wanted, So I had to tap in a different source and go to different meetings. So I'm really learning to pick up the phone and, just talk, just be myself, and it's okay, right?
Yeah, and that's another suggestion I would give to anybody, and that's kind of how I went through finding a sponsor. Is I found somebody that had what I wanted. I saw the kind of life that he lived. I saw his character and how he handled himself in different situations, and so it's like, okay, if I want to be more like him, then I need to hang out with him more and figure out like why he behaves the way he does, how he handles difficult situations. So I would say the same thing in friendship, you know. I want to pick my friends based on like how they behave, and the best way to do that is to hang out outside of the meetings, cuz I can come into the meeting and I can quote out of the book and I can share all flowery and beautiful and good and be a good
Good
and be
vibes.
yeah, and be a good person for an hour, but what happens when I lose my job or my wife leaves me or somebody in my family dies? Like, I want to know how people handle those kind of situations, because I can be the best person you've ever seen for an hour.
Yeah, it's facts. Yeah, but that's the thing too. I'm learning to feel. I used to drink to feel, quote quote, but I was actually drinking not to feel and to
Hmm.
get out of myself. And I noticed, like, now being where I'm at in my journey, that a lot of fucked up things happen. Because my brother is still an active addict, alcoholic, and I live with it. And my grandma's sick. And I remember this woman telling me when I first started coming around, she said to me, my life, I don't have a home. I'm homeless. I don't have a job. And my life is really, I don't have anywhere to go. Right? It looks like rock bottom. She said it's rock bottom, but I'm not going to pick up a drink over it. And that really hit me because I realized, like, no matter what, like, I don't have to pick up a drink if I choose to live the principles, and do the right thing. And that really hits me because I'm feeling emotions. I'm crying, like, authentically. I don't need something in my body to make me cry anymore. Because I was always taught, dude, that my mom like still drinks to this day, right? And she'll come home and then she'll tell me she loves me, or like that something that she's resentful to me that she's been neglecting to tell me is only when she's drinking. So I was taught my whole life to not speak your feelings, that everything's okay, and to drink to feel and to have that conversation. But today I don't have to live like that. And now my grandma's like really sick and I pray for her. And you know what? I have a lot of fear, but that fear used to cause me to drink, and I don't have to do that today. I'm learning to accept, like, that she's sick, and that's what the program is trying to wake me up in, because it's hard to accept things that we can't control.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely struggled with the whole aspect of powerlessness for probably longer than I should have. But I mean, it makes sense. Like, we come in the rooms, and I mean, I guess there's kind of two camps. There's some people that come in and they can look at the wreckage of their life and they can see that their life, that they are powerless over their life, and there's other people that come in that kind of had the mindset that I had of like, I'm in control. I'm my own god. Like, I control my own
Mm.
destiny type mindset.
Shit.
So I think there's two different camps, but yeah, I struggled with that powerlessness because I didn't want to admit that. I didn't want to see just how little control I have. And so that, for me, that was one of the biggest things, and that's one of the things that my sponsor hammered on in the very beginning was powerlessness, and then unrealistic expectations, because I would constantly put all these expectations on other
Yes.
people,
Oh my
and then
god.
they don't act the way that I think they should act, and now all of a sudden I'm pissed off at you, and you don't know why I'm pissed off at you, but I had this idea in my head that you're going to act this way and you didn't, and so now I'm mad because you didn't do what I thought you should do.
Yes, that's huge. That's huge. And it leads us to disappointment anyways, and we're always so fucking pissed anyways at them. It's so funny you say that, because that's a huge part that I've worked on with my family, is for my own sake, of with my success and where I'm at. They don't give me the validation, like, you know what I mean. We always seek that, and I've learned not to expect anything, and my relationship with them has mended through time, because I still have things on my forward step I got to do with them. But today things are a little bit more better, and I'm praying for compassion for that, because I can't control them and I can't expect anything except for me to, say good job, Leanne, for me. Because if we do, then we're fucked.
Yeah, for sure. At the end, I like to let the guests just share whatever's on their heart.
If there's anything that I want anybody to know, is that if you're in the beginning part of your recovery, if you're just, you're working the steps, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, realize that there is support out there and that you're not alone. Because when we think that we're alone, things get dark, and there's people out there that are willing to take your hand and and walk with you. And I'm learning that every day. And because of AA, I'm able to live a sober, true life and own my part. And life is beautiful today. And because of this life that I'm living free, I'm able to be the best version I could possibly be. And that takes work every day and prayer, meditation, and conversations like this, Brett. And I want to thank you for having me on this show because this is the first time I'm actually talking about my experience of recovery. So I really appreciate you taking the time out.
I really appreciate you being on the show. It was great. I feel like we vibed and it was a great conversation.
Yeah, we attracted each other, dude.
Well, would you like to tell the listeners how they can find you, the name of your podcast, social media, any of that kind of stuff?
Let's do it. So you guys can find me. It's called Beyoufullmind. It will be on the show notes below. However, it is on Apple, Spotify, Google. And also, if you're interested in manifesting the life you truly deserve, I am offering a free 1-hour deep dive session with me. You pick the time and we just call and we chat about you. At the end of the day, I'm only here to be in service with significance. And I also will be launching January 1st, 2021, a keys to manifesting the true you for 2021. All the tickets, I think it's about $15, and it's 2 hours, keynote speakers from all around the world, and they will truly give you keys to how you can maximize and use a toolbox for your daily living, because at the end of the day, we need tools to survive, and that's why I am going to hold that event, is to spread the message of peace, love, and just tranquility and self-love. So that's it for me.
Leanne, thank you again for being on the show today. It was an absolute pleasure. Be sure to check out her podcast, Beyoufullmind, on all major podcast platforms. You've been listening to Recovery Survey. If you got anything out of today's episode, I'd ask you to please leave us a 5-star review and share this episode with a friend. If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can find us at recoverysurvey.com. You can listen to all of our episodes on the website as well as connect with us on social media where you can get previews for upcoming episodes.